according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Then Jesus and his disciples arrived at the region of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. As he stepped out on the shore, a man from the city who had demons met him. For a long time he had not worn any clothes, and he did not live in a house, but in a tomb. When he saw Jesus, he cried out. He fell down before him, shouted, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many times it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles. But he'd break his bonds and be driven by the demon into the wilds. Jesus then asked him, "What's your name?" And he said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. They begged him not to order them to go back into the abyss. Now, there on the hillside, a large herd of swine was feeding, and the demons begged Jesus to let them enter these. So Jesus gave them permission. And then the demons came out of the man, and they entered the swine, and the herd stampeded down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When the swineherds saw what had happened, they ran off and they told the city and the country. Then people came out to see what had happened. And when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone sitting at his feet, clothed and in his right mind. And they became frightened. Those who had seen it told them how the one who had been possessed by demons had been healed. And then the whole throng of people of the surrounding region of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them, for they were seized with great fear. And so he got into the boat, and he returned. The man from whom the demons had gone out begged him that he might be with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." And so he went away, proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
I have 3 grandsons. You have 3 grandsons? No. This is where we part ways. I have 3 grandsons, and they are an absolute delight. And it's always a joy when they come to our house and when they bring their parents with them, when they come to visit. No matter how prepared we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter what time of day it is, no matter what the house looks like, we are always thrilled to see the grandchildren. Now, other visits are not as pleasantly simple as when the grandchildren come over. When my daughters still lived at home and they brought their friends over to the house, it was always different. We always had some picking up to do. And then there was the obligatory tussle with the vacuum cleaner. That was always in order. And my wife and I would need to vacate the living room, the room with the only television in this house, so that my daughter could entertain her friends. You see, the experience when guests come can vary widely. What if Jesus came to visit? Would you be excited? Would you be honored? Would you be anxious or uneasy about that visit? Would you have to not just vacuum, but maybe prepare a special meal perhaps buy a new outfit, or at least put on some better clothes. What would you do if Jesus came to visit? Now, in the text that I just read from Luke's Gospel there, Jesus pays a visit to the country of the Gerasenes. It's a Gentile area. It's not a Jewish community, but a Gentile region across the Sea of Galilee. And Jesus comes, as he always does in the Gospel of Luke, with authority and with power. And when Jesus comes to visit, it's no longer business as usual. That's what that story's all about. When Jesus comes, stuff begins to change. And almost before he can get out of the boat, Jesus is met by a man described as demon-possessed. He's different from everyone else. He doesn't belong. He's marginalized. And because he is shunned, he's always looking over his shoulders, hunkering down, living and dwelling in the out-of-the-way places. He has to fly under the radar. He lives in constant fear and isolation. He can't escape his background. He has no power. He has no agency to affect his circumstances or his environment. And he comes at Jesus from his home in the cemetery. And he's shouting at Jesus to leave him alone. Do not torment me. At least that's what's reported as being shared with Jesus as he arrives. But we learn, as the story unfolds, that it's not really the man who's speaking to Jesus, but it's the demons who are bargaining with Jesus here, asking Jesus to leave this one alone. Don't disrupt the plans that are in place. Go with the flow. And then, in a dramatic scene, Jesus wipes out a pig farm and sends the demons to their destruction. And he restores this man to health and wholeness. Here is the transforming power of God at work. And the reaction to the visit of this powerful Jesus, those reactions are swift and they are intense. The demons realize at once that they're in the presence of a power greater than their own. They represent the forces and the consequences of evil and oppression that are active in the lives of people and in the world. These are the forces that tremble when they come before the dynamic presence of God's reign. The reaction of the people in the area to the healing of their neighbor is really most striking. You might think that they'd be happy that this man who has caused them so much trouble is now sane and whole and restored. Perhaps they would throw a party to celebrate this miracle of salvation and healing, or hurry to bring Jesus some of their own friends who are in need of healing. But we learn quickly, there is no party. There is no celebration. Luke says they were seized with panic. They were scared, and they asked Jesus to leave. If Jesus has power over the forces of the world that oppress us and bind us, if Jesus can heal somebody like the long-suffering man in this Bible lesson, destroying a hog farm in the process, what might he do next? Who is safe prefer to remain in my comfortable, familiar patterns of believing, thinking, and living. It's oftentimes easier to hold on to what we know than to face something new. This is our context as well, in which we, the followers of Jesus, work and witness. Efforts to lift the poor, the homeless, the immigrant are often met with resistance from those who might have to sacrifice or surrender an entitlement. When Jesus comes to visit, he comes with the possibility of new beginnings, but that transformation and healing will mean the end of some old ways. There's a book written by Stanley Weintraub. It's entitled Silent Night. It's a book about the Christmas truce during World War I. The story is told of the Americans fighting the Germans in trench warfare. You know, the Germans were hunkered down in trenches over here, the Americans over here, and in the middle was what they called the no man's land. They used artillery to try to lob shells into the trenches and kill their enemies. They used gas. They shot bullets. But a truce was negotiated. Not a long-lasting one, just for Christmas. And so there would be no hostilities, just for Christmas. In the book it's described that one of the soldiers took the top of a conifer tree, an evergreen, and he planted it on the berm that protected the trench from which he was fighting. A little symbol of Christmas. As the battlefield remained silent, the American troops heard "O Tannenbaum, O Tannenbaum, O Christmas tree, O Christmas tree."
Where's fire?
Sung in German by the enemy they were trying to kill, and then later, Christmas carols were sung back and forth. And eventually some of the courageous among them ventured out of the trenches during the truce, and they entered the no man's land. And there German and American soldiers traded Christmas gifts. You know, dumb stuff. Chocolate, chewing gum, cigarettes. Anything they got from the care package that their parents sent the soldiers. They played soccer, or as the Germans would have called it, football. At least for a brief time. They were able to do that, to stand in no man's land, and to share gifts, and to say thank you to one another, and to enjoy peace because they were celebrating the arrival of Jesus, the Prince of Peace, into this war-torn, messy world. For a moment, for a brief moment, the war ended and the soldiers were transformed. Actually, as we read on in the book, as it turns out, the soldiers were not just transformed for that brief period of time on Christmas Day, but they were transformed for a longer period of time because the officers on both the German and American sides eventually appealed to their superiors to send new soldiers. Because those who had experienced the Christmas truce no longer fought with the same veracity and fierceness as they did before. And so to meet the demands of the war, they had to swap out soldiers. The newly transformed lives precipitated new ways of engaging the world. The fear of the new is seen by us, it's known by us. We see it in our nations, we see it in our churches, we see it as individuals try to cling to the old patterns of living, even when the old patterns are not necessarily life-giving. And if Jesus comes to visit, we just might ask him to leave, as surely as the Gerasenes did, afraid of what he might do or what he might ask of us. You know, the people who hanged Jesus on a cross never accused him of being boring, never thought of him as more of the same. Now, on the contrary, they thought he was too dynamic to be safe. But you know, there's another character in this story, and another reaction to Jesus' visit, and that's the man who was healed. The powerful Jesus has given back his life. From a naked, tormented man who lived in a graveyard, he's been changed to one who is sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. It's astounding. The healed man is so grateful that he pleads with Jesus to be allowed to go with him back to Galilee. But Jesus says no. At Jesus' direction, he becomes an apostle to his own hometown, bursting with good news of what Jesus has done for him and how his life will be changed forever. Now, today's gospel tells us plainly that for all the power that the demons have, there is a power far greater than all of theirs put together. Even though there's 6,000 demons come at us all at once, they can be named, they can be removed from this by none other than Jesus Christ. Martin Luther believed in demons, but he trusted far more in God. The classic hymn, A Mighty Fortress, says, though hordes of devils fill the land, all threatening to devour us, I tremble not, unmoved I stand, they cannot overpower us. This world's prince may rage, in fierce war engage, but he's doomed to fail. God's judgment must prevail. One little word subdues it. The church that is born of God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ by the Holy Spirit lives in this word and has been given the assignment to carry it out into the whole world. The church is under orders to go to the cemeteries where the landscapers toil, and to the meat packing plants, and to the refugee camps, and to the asylums, and the lettuce fields, and the hotels, and the restaurants, and all of the dark places where people live in fear and demonic isolation and speak boldly the liberating word of forgiveness and hope. The church's mission is not to join the frightened townspeople in banishing the vulnerable to distant graveyards of despair, but instead to invade the graveyards, to name the demons, and to throw them out, to set people free in the name of Jesus. I never know when my grandsons are going to show up. I never call ahead. You never know where Jesus is going offer of healing, with the promise of a new life